I give now the floor to Henk van Dalen, Director of Ocean, who is going to take us through the work of the ocean cleanup with some really striking images.
So it is the, well, thank you, of course, first of all, for the honor to present here. It's the Ocean Cleanup's mission to rid the world's oceans of plastic. And if you go to the next slide, please, we have a twofold strategy to achieve that. So first of all, it's cleaning up the majority of the plastic floating from the rivers. If we could go to the next slide, that will give an illustration of that. So it's stopping the inflow from the rivers, which is one of the largest sources of plastic inflow into our oceans. But next to that, it's also about cleaning up the legacy of plastic, which is floating out there in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, because that turns into microplastics and has quite a detrimental effect on the marine environment. And ultimately, it is this dual strategy which will allow us to restore the ocean health there. Next slide, please. So we are currently already operating in 18 rivers worldwide, where we've set out a list of the most 1,000 polluting rivers to intercept the plastics there, predominantly in South Asia and Central America. But we also operate out in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is the area between Hawaii and California. Next slide, please. Now, the way we approach our innovation is first very much focusing on the source, the plastic problem itself, because the better we understand the problem, the more we can address it, of course. We do a lot of research and publish this also to create awareness across the board, but this also allows us to do certain analysis. So we see the plastic accumulates in certain patches, we can analyze the data we have, and that allows us to design and deploy cleanup systems. Now, the plastic we then capture is something we process, and we actually aim to valorize and create sustainable products for the future, which also helps us fund our mission. But it also gives a large amount of data, which we can then continue to monitor, which goes back into the loop of improving our designs. But it also allows us to use this data to influence systematic change in that space and really create more awareness to this global problem we have, which again is prevention at the source. If we go to the next slide, we'll see that in the ocean technology development, we've gone through a series of iterations. Initially, the North Pacific, it's 3 times the size of France, a huge area. And our technology approach has always been looking at what is the fastest cycle to make sure we get to a working concept. Now here you see the iterations over the many years, but ultimately at the bottom right, this is what we deployed last year. 2-kilometer-long system, which is designed to capture plastic but not harm marine life. And we've been able to capture more than 500,000 kilograms of plastic in the process there. Now, on the next slide, you'll see our river technology development. And also here, it started off with an interceptor original, top left. This was more designed with solar panels and a conveyor belt and automatic offloading. Very much designed for the larger rivers, but over time we've actually learned that doing pilot projects that we can also develop a quite innovative technology and a lower technology complexity to tackle these rivers worldwide. Next slide, please. So with our operations, we have been able to, in the river space, collect over 38 million kilograms of plastic. And here specifically, you see a video of the river Las Vacas in Guatemala. So at the bottom, you see our interceptor, and you see this huge amount of piles of trash accumulating there. And our interceptor prevents this from floating into the Gulf of Honduras and then into the oceans where we can no longer or difficultly catch it. And as the image zooms out, you actually see the scale of this problem. So excavators with truckloads of trash being offloaded there is something that happens on a regular basis. So evidently we're proud that we're stopping this, but we also recognize that there's still a lot of work to do, definitely in these developing countries, to make sure we support them in clean rivers and clean oceans. Next slide, please. So the future for us is we've continued our analysis and mapping, and what we've identified is there's actually 30 cities responsible for quite a bit of the pollution output in the world. Our data goes into models, and that allows us to assess this, where after we zoom in really on detailed level to verify the models. And you see here that the majority of the cities, again, in Central America and Southeast Asia, those will be our key target areas, because there we can have the largest impact in the quickest of time, which again helps our ultimate goal to restore the ocean health there. So with that, I think my final slide is done. I thank you for your attention, and welcome any questions.
Thank you, Henk. Really inspiring. I mean, it shows really the magnitude of the challenge, the current challenge and the challenge we have ahead, but also, you know, how the system has grown over time and has improved over time. So when we heard before about constant innovation and development, I mean, I think it's a very clear